Well, here we are, listener, in the round of 16 of the Champions League and top of the Premier League table. What a great time it is to be a Liverpool fan. Welcome to You'll Never Talk Alone. Alex Lebel here, the returning Zach Osborne back from a series of Lallana-like injuries. Zach, how are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, this week it was almost an episode of Actually You'll Talk Alone. Just me and you, and I've been MIA for a little while, but it feels good to be back.
Yeah, it feels good to not be talking alone, because then we'd have to change the name of the podcast. And we don't want to do that because we spent a lot of time doing this and catered to a lot of Norwegian listeners, according to the analytics. So, hello, our Scandinavian friends. As I mentioned earlier, great week for Liverpool, starting with the 4-0 demolition of Bournemouth, and followed up by a 1-0 demolition of Napoli. Despite our refusal to score goals, we still managed to get through to the last 16 of the Champions League. Some good things, some bad things. But Zach, did you get a chance to see much of the Bournemouth match?
Yeah, I did, actually. And it was fun to watch, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, we finally scored a bunch, and Salah finally scored a bunch, and it was just great.
That it was. Salah back to his just devastating form that, it's funny, and we've talked about it before, Salah's having a fine season, right? He's good. He's not godlike like he was last year. And it was never reasonable to expect that of him this season. It's just strange to be jolted out of our feeling of being slightly disappointed in Mohamed Salah still being one of the best players in the league, but suddenly we got this glimpse of, his blinding form from last season.
Yeah, he is human, but he's still scoring ridiculous amounts of goals.
Right.
And I think not only his hat trick, but his goal against Napoli showed that a lot of people overlook is his strength. It is so hard to bring him down, and when they do bring him down, he never seems to get calls, which is annoying. But I mean, he throws his weight around, however little it might be, so well. And his center of gravity is so low, and he's able to turn and finish so quickly. He's got the composure, and he's so hard to get off the ball. And I think that's really an underrated part of his game.
Yeah, when he's in those physical battles, it always strikes me how he's able to sort of almost be in hand-to-hand combat with whoever's marking him, and yet his control of the ball at his feet is still so precise. It's almost like his brain can work in those two spheres at once in a way that just baffles people like me who have been so unathletic for their entire lives.
And it's one of those things where you see that happen, and then you hear oh, well, the pros are almost playing a different game just because they're so good. And when he does stuff like that, you realize that is completely true. Just to do something like that when you're 5'8", 5'9", and just throw these people off the ball. Like last year, he threw Harry Maguire off the ball, who is 8 of Salah. He is like Dudley Dursley 8 Salah.
There you go.
He threw him off, and it's incredible. And long may it continue, especially in this busy season. Hopefully he stays healthy. One thing that did happen at the weekend is we saw the midfield-ish, since we're kind of playing this new style of system with Fabinho, Keita, Gini, and Shaq kind of all interchanging centrally. Did you think that worked really well, or did you think that we won 4-0 because of Salah's magic?
No, I think trying something new in the midfield worked. I think, we discussed it, or you guys discussed it. It was the right match for that to happen, for a little rotation, a little experimentation. I mean, who doesn't like to experiment? You know what I mean?
You just got us an explicit tag.
And yeah, but by that I mean just give me more Shaqiri, really.
Yeah.
And Fabinho has been a bit of a mystery to me this season. I'm not sure. There have been times where he's been on the pitch and it's been fantastic. He's bossed the midfield and locked everything down and made everyone look more comfortable. And then there's been other times when he's looked slow and just off the pace and people are blowing by him and he looks like a liability. I think we're going to start to get more of the good Fabinho as we see him more. But it was certainly a different look, and up until our Champions League match, which I'm sure we'll discuss, our usual sort of first choice midfield had really started to look stale and out of ideas and was regularly getting sort of dominated in the middle of the park. And so this definitely felt like the right move to throw these new guys out. And it worked.
Yeah. I mean, one thing we've talked a lot about in the past few episodes is the balance of the types of players we've played in midfield. And I think we in the league, especially, although Bournemouth did come out to play a lot more, you saw that the skills that those players have are complementary to each other. They bring out the best in each other. And with the system change, we're seeing kind of Fabinho and Naby play more of the roles that they were used to playing at their previous clubs. So they're starting to gel. They're starting to look incredible. Naby just keeps looking like the player that we brought in because he was really good. So it's just great to see that. And it's great to see other teams scoring own goals. I love it. I mean, Phil Jones scored one today. It was absolutely hilarious. Steve Cook's was actually pretty impressive. It was like a spinning backheel finish. So that might have been the best goal of the night or the afternoon, I guess, apart from Salah's super composure.
Speaking of own goals, I feel like I read this, very briefly on Reddit and didn't have time to really investigate. Is it true that more Liverpool players have scored on ALISSON this season than opposition players? Is that a real stat?
Yeah, I've seen that doing the rounds. I haven't really done enough fact checking to really see, but I mean, we did score 7 on him in the Champions League, and then I think we have only conceded 6. So it's very possible. I will look it up right now just to confirm.
I mean, if that's true, it's my favorite stat in a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, we've only conceded 6 goals, so that stat is true.
Wow.
And how great it is. And in another match, right, this is a forcible segue, I guess, but in another match where ALISSON didn't have that much to do but was really great was this match midweek where, like you alluded to, we went back to our tried and true midfield. And I know a lot of people, myself included, were a little bit skeptical of going back to that 3 that has looked kind of so dire throughout
there were lots of all caps curse words from you in our group text when the lineups were announced.
Yeah, and I've never been happier to be completely wrong.
Right.
So what do you think made them work so well in this match apart from the other matches that we've seen this season?
That's a tough question. I'm not really sure how the stars aligned or what necessarily went right for them to gel. I did notice that Genie was all over the pitch, that it seemed like whenever the midfield was linking up with our attacking 3, Genie was there. It seemed like when the midfield was tracking back to help in defense, Genie was there. And we have talked about before that traditional midfield that we, like, and Klopp obviously wants to return to in big matches. It seems to live and die by how well Genie performs. And I felt like despite a couple of tough chances missed, when his finishing was not necessarily clinical, but you could say that about a lot of
everyone on the team.
Right. Just other than that small criticism, I feel like Gini Wijnaldum had a really, really strong performance, and he was at least the member of the midfield that sort of stood out to me as having a particularly strong game.
Yeah, I agree. He was the standout performer of that midfield three. And I think what really helped that combination work was because this was a match where the formula from last season was in effect. They came to play. It was weird. They didn't look like they were sitting back to preserve a draw, but they also didn't really look like they were there to play. And I think they were trying to, but a big part of why they couldn't was because of the midfield being able to pressure them, press really high. And what worked so well last season was them just taking the little bit of space that they get when they get the ball back and cycling it up to the front three.
Yep.
And that's why they looked so good, because they were just putting people under pressure, winning it back. I think Milner had the most tackles won of the night, and just getting it up to Salah, looking for Mane, looking for Bobby, and then making those late runs into the box to try to help for the crossing. So they got to go back to what made them look so good last season. And I think that's why Klopp picked them this time. It seemed like a terrible decision at first, but again, they disproved everyone. They made the game bend to their will and accentuate their strengths. So full credit to them.
I'd say right out of the gate, Napoli looked very timid going forward and were afraid to be aggressive, because you could almost feel their anxiety in terms of knowing that they could very easily be overrun on the counter. And so I would describe their play as very sort of cautious and timid throughout most of the match. And that certainly, helped us out in terms of our game plan.
Yeah, and they looked like they were stuck in two minds between kind of doing what they have been doing in the league to succeed and doing what they did against us in Naples by changing their formation a little bit to exploit us, and they ended up doing neither. And I mean, if not for our absolutely abysmal finishing and Koulibaly, this game would have been 8 or 9-0. I mean, he was their defender. Koulibaly was pretty much the only reason why we didn't have even more chances on goal.
Oh, yeah. One of the commentators at one point said, "How many Koulibalys are on the field?" And I laughed out loud and thought that's spot on, because he was immense. And I mean, we've talked about how we would love to see this guy at Liverpool one day. Not that we're already back in the market for another center back. I mean,
well, we might be now.
We should be. He's been on a short list of players that I've admired for a while as far as center defenders go, and he was huge for Napoli. So, yeah, he definitely stood out as far as performers for those guys.
Yeah, and I mean, he had to make up a lot for Mario Rui trying to get in Salah's pants and failing and ending up on the ground. He performed well. One person who did not perform well, or one group of people who did not perform well, were the officials. I thought that was one of the worst officiated games I have ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, pretty poor.
Everything we did was a foul. Everything.
Yes. I've explained to you guys before that at where I work, I'm in I have no cell phone reception whatsoever inside my classroom. So I know on match days, when I step outside at the end of the day to walk to my car, I always make sure my phone is on vibrate so that I can just see how overloaded it gets with all the texts coming through. And they usually come through in a very random order. Sometimes I can kind of follow the logical flow. But after all of it came through, the last one out of like the hundreds was a text from you that was clearly out of order. It just said, "Finally, we got a call." That was the last in the chain. So, yes, the officials were bad.
I mean, it might have been the last thing that happened in the game.
Maybe so.
Because it took forever. And I mean, it started with that yellow to Van Dijk for what was really a fantastic tackle with an unfortunate ending. Like, he got the ball, his foot was the only way it could have been, and Mertens landed, and Van Dijk's foot hit him. But I mean, I do like Dres Mertens, but it's a classic case of talk get hit, because when you say that about the "this is Anfield" sign, that's what's going to happen when you're playing at Anfield. So, I mean, him and Carlo, you got your just desserts for trying to belittle the power of Anfield, because it's a thing and it works. And you can just look at the track record of everyone who's like, "Oh, we're not gonna fall for that. That's other teams that do that," and then boom, roasted.
I mean, you can do a case study in teams that have been overwhelmed by a European night at Anfield. And you see it through all the sports. There are venues that are you've got a 12th man sort of mentality, and that's a real thing. And Anfield is a place that absolutely has it. It's not the only place in world football that has it, but it's on the list, and you got to respect it. And maybe Napoli didn't.
They definitely did not. And I mean, it definitely is a thing. I mean, you could see it even in the MLS Cup final. Atlanta's home crowd played a massive role in that match, and a massive role in making them so good this season. And congrats to them for being probably the best MLS team I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And the most fun to watch, just stylistically. I mean, not to just crap on MLS in general, but there have been a lot of boring MLS matches over the years.
MLS.
MLS. That was a Freudian slip. File that under Freudian slip. But yeah, Atlanta this season, not boring. Really good.
And I'll tell you what,
I was glad to see that they won the title, because they absolutely deserved it.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no reason whatsoever that U.S. Soccer should have talked to their manager about managing our national team. He has not proven anything. That winning the league means nothing. We should never have talked to him, which I'm glad we didn't.
Now he is. Wait, is he leaving for a national team position?
Yeah, he's taking over the Mexico job.
Oh, of course.
Because we didn't talk to him, because we had our guy picked 14 months ago. But that's we got off topic. That's a rant for another day. So one person we may or may not have to rant about, barring your opinion, is Joel Matip. I know he divides opinion on this podcast, but he has been playing the last two matches. And Zach, how do you think he's done? I mean, we're not going to see him for a while, because the
collarbone.
At some point, he broke his collarbone. I don't remember. I don't even remember him getting hurt. But he is like a toothpick, so I think a forceful wind could probably break most of his bones.
Well, he's been good. Like, not even just like competent or decent, especially in the Napoli match. He was really good. The commentators, recognized that on several occasions, talking about how he was making important clearances. Positionally, he was sound. I would say Van Dijk made the more dramatic clearances that would have, if he had failed, would have led to more direct chances on goal. But Matip didn't do anything wrong, and he's kind of made a name for himself doing things wrong at Liverpool. So to see him, we had him pegged as an obvious weak spot in the team, and he delivered. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He totally exceeded our expectations for him, which were pretty low. So disappointing that he's, injured now out of the blue, and that we are possibly in some sort of injury crisis at the back.
Right. And I think on Matip, like Joseph said it well in our text chain, that the strongest selling points for either Matip or Lovren is that they're not the other one. So I mean, people usually have their camps, and that's usually the big. Well, at least he's not Lovren. Well, at least he's not Matip. But either way, he did do well. I mean, the 2 clean sheets, he played a part in that. And I think one thing, I mean, he's not the best defender by any means, but one thing he does offer when he has been in these past 2 games is he plays the more similar passes to Gomez. He's willing to take that chance going forward. He doesn't always connect because he's not quite at that level, but he goes for it. And when it does work, it does come off, it's really helpful. So it is a shame to see him go out, and especially in light of how many other players we have injured. I mean, Trent had to go off because he was hurt. Hopefully he's fit for this weekend. Lovren's coming off a concussion and can't seem to play 2 matches in a row without getting hurt. So we might be in the market for a center back come January, and I think Koulibaly might have shot to the top of the list out of all those after that performance.
That would be another dream signing.
And we might never concede again, literally, if we have Van Dijk, Koulibaly. And the man we're going to talk about now, the man who made Klopp just lose his mind post-match, and that is ALISSON BECKER, who the one thing he was asked to do pretty much all game, and he answered it, and he had no business answering the call.
No.
I mean, Milik was point blank on his stronger foot, and ALISSON BECKER comes up with that again. Zach, just wax lyrical, because I know you, out of everyone on this podcast, are probably the happiest to see us have a good goalkeeper.
Oh, yeah. I mean, because, man, I have just ranted and raved for what feels like close to a decade now about Liverpool's goalkeeping woes. I faked excitement about Karius because he was young and had been the second best keeper in the Bundesliga, and so much potential. But deep down, the word potential is a triggering word for me when it comes to transfer business. So when Karius didn't quite pan out, it felt like the same old story. And I've said many a time on this podcast, we've got to go out. We've got to spend whatever it takes to get one of the 10 best goalkeepers in the world, to bring him into Liverpool, to make it a long-term thing, and to lock down this position, because it has been a glaring weakness for so long. And by God, we did it. And I don't think anyone is complaining now. ALISSON is at the top of his game, cannot be denied, one of the best in the world, and we look so much better for it. He has already – it'd be interesting to look at the results so far this season and to calculate how many points he has saved us single-handedly. But I think it's indicative that we could do that and would have a pretty substantial number. And we haven't been able to say that about a keeper in God knows how long. So thank you, Joseph Craven looking beautiful man, ALISSON BECKER.
In the past 2 weeks, it's at least 7 points that he saved us.
Yeah.
So it's just unreal. It's weird. It's weird having confidence in someone who's between the posts at Liverpool. And we really haven't had that. I think we talked about it last week, since Reina in like 08, 09.
Yeah, and was it against Bournemouth where he released one of our I think he directly linked up with the attack on a break that led to the first goal, maybe? Or am I thinking of another match?
It was the Burnley match where he made that save, and then the ball came back out, and he kept it in, claimed it, started the counterattack that then led to it being 3-1. So it went from should have been 2-2 to 3-1, game over, all because of him in a matter of like 20 seconds. And
so
it was
another part of his game. Yeah.
And he's really intelligent. In Bournemouth, it was when he won that header, which was awesome
Oh
because he
yeah.
got so freaking high over the attacker and just blasted it out with his head. So
He's super confident and he has reason to be. Like he just bosses his area. He is not afraid to he acts like he's going to win everything cuz he does. Like
yeah, and like Van Dijk was everyone who supports Liverpool after that foul that was called after the big save when he just stood over him and grabbed him like
yep.
in between the shoulder blades and just started shouting at him. Like that was awesome. Oh man, it was just so great. And you after now that he started to make saves, which I guess can be good or bad now that he's had to make some saves. But
Yeah.
earlier in the season, I mean, you saw more uncertainty when the ball was at his feet. You saw what happened at Leicester. You
Mhm.
saw more wayward passes. But now that he's making saves, now he's keeping clean sheets. Now that we're defending well, there's no murmur around the crowd whenever it comes to his feet. Everyone trusts him. Everyone on the field trusts him, and that's awesome because we haven't had confidence in a goalkeeper, especially with the ball at their feet, in years. So it's nice to have him, and he distributes it so well. I mean, his passing is ridiculous. So I mean, it's just there's hardly any words for it because it's just we're not used to this feeling. We're not used to having a good keeper.
Yeah, we're really not. We're spoiled, Alex.
Well, he's going to be called into action a lot if all of our center backs, bar Van Dijk, are hurt. So hopefully we find a solution to that.
You think
And
Fabinho ends up playing center back some this season?
he might have to. There's history has shown that Lovren will get hurt after 2 games in a row.
Do you think that would be the next move if Lovren was injured, or would there be some sort of other stopgap solution?
I think it's pretty likely that it would probably be one of our midfielders to drop back and play center back, or we switch formations a little bit and kind of do what we did at Brighton last season, where we played Emre, Lovren, and Genie in a back three. So essentially a back one. But it would probably be Fabinho out of all of the midfielders we have.
Yeah, I'm not doing this for comedic purposes. Like that is honestly the first time I've thought about Emery Can this entire season. Like I forgot he was a person, I think.
Yeah, I mean he's been unlucky. He had a really weird thyroid problem that needed surgery, so he hadn't really been playing. So it's totally understandable.
Yeah.
Because I forgot about him until he came on. I think it was 2 weekends ago. I was like, oh, he's back.
Well, it also helps that like you watch all soccer that is played.
That's true.
Worldwide.
Yeah. But yeah, it's nice to not even have to think about him like, oh, we miss him. Because now we don't. Because now we're seeing the people that we brought in show why we brought them in. And we had, I think the only other option for our center back would be maybe Nat Phillips, the preseason wonder, who didn't actually play that well in preseason. But I don't think that's going to happen. It would probably be one of our midfielders.
I'd vote for Fabinho. By the way, I don't think I have been on the pod, or maybe I'm getting mixed up, but I don't think I've been on since we had our little Trent Alexander-Arnold debate, and I proclaimed that was my new pessimistic hill that I was willing to die on. I was wrong. Can I just say I'm no longer committed to that viewpoint. He has his moments where he makes me lose a tad bit of confidence, but yeah, Trent, you're fine, man. I'm sorry I doubted you.
He's really stepped it up, and it's unfortunate because then someone stepped on him and he got hurt. So he may or may not play this weekend against United, which I guess we can look forward to that now because, I mean, like we said, we got a bit of a injury problem. We have a selection dilemma. Our right back might be hurt. Our backup right back is definitely hurt. Our third string right back, I don't think anyone's heard from him since the beginning of the season. We've got a center back who played right back towards the end of the game. and did lose Milik a little bit to enable that shot. So what are you expecting from the defense? Because I mean, Trent walked off of his own accord. He was wincing, but it didn't look too serious. Do you think he is able to play?
I'm gonna say yes. I'm optimistic in this case. Yeah, that's all I got. I mean, I really don't want to have to think about what happens if Trent doesn't play.
Yeah, I don't know if we've had to think about it until now, but I mean, it seems pretty likely, since they're the only defenders that we trust, that it will be Robertson, Van Dijk, Lovren, and Trent, with Allison behind him for defending. And for this match, because it is United, it is Mourinho, they're just not very good, but they tend to spoil the party. I mean, I know Will texted he couldn't make it tonight, but he said, don't see why we shouldn't beat United. Like, he's supremely confident that we will beat United. But on the other hand, every time we're way better than them, they always seem to beat us somehow. Like, Klopp has not beaten them outside of the Europa League since he took over. So what do you think we need to do to actually come away with this victory? And starting from, who do we even pick in midfield based on the form that we've seen, the performances that we've seen of late?
Well, first of all, I think United, they're going to be really negative in their tactics. They're not going to come to Anfield looking to play. They're going to try to frustrate. And for that reason specifically, I would really like to see Naby Keita in midfield, because of how full of energy he's looked. Just dynamic would be the word at the moment, and maybe for all of his career thus far. And I think we're going to need a player like that, who's just bursting with pace and energy and dynamism to sort of break down whatever disgusting, boring, negative tactics United throws our way.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I agree. And I think the front three remains the same. So it's really just a pick of the litter of all these players that are playing.
I hope
well.
Bobby can. He stood out to me as the least sharp of the front three against Napoli. I know Mane's finishing was terrible, but Bobby didn't even really have the chance to finish poorly, because a lot of his passes went awry and he just looked off his game. So I hope he can correct that, because Bobby's also the type of player that I think his skill set and sort of his physicality, he's not the paciest of our front three, but he's probably the sort of the most bullish, I guess you could say. And that might be needed against United.
Yeah. I mean, he was off, but he's definitely helped the team, even though he wasn't playing well, because the system was again built around him against Napoli. I don't think that will be the case against United at all, because they're going to sit so deep and they're just going to foul. I mean, it's not there's not any polite way to say it. They're just going to foul and probably get away with it, because Ashley Young and Antonio Valencia never get called for anything. I mean, Valencia nearly broke someone's leg today and just got a yellow for a tackle that was way worse than Van Dijk's. And the refs actively try not to get sucked in to the Anfield atmosphere by just ignoring blatant red card fouls or blatant persistent yellows. So we're going to have to deal with that. That did hurt us last season a lot, because they fouled Salah out of the match completely. And that's one thing, which is why we're going to need the midfield to step up. And I personally don't think that we can play the midfield we played against Napoli and succeed, because it is not the type of game that we need that type of midfield. And it can be very tempting to play those three when they all played so well, but I don't think we can. And I think, we need someone like Keita. We need someone like Fabinho who will pick those passes out, who will break through those deep lines and take someone on and look for the forward pass, or have a little, in Keita's case, have a little bit of magic to beat 2 or 3 people, double nutmeg some people like he did against
Right.
Bournemouth. And Chad's got to come back in. This is
I was going to say, Shaqiri, would love to see him, even if he doesn't make the starting lineup as a super sub, because a lot of times against United, the difference is like a single moment of brilliance.
Mm-hmm.
And Shaqiri, obviously Salah's got that in him. Mane has those, but Shaqiri has proven time and time again, maybe more so than anyone on our team right now. He scores, I don't know if you call them wonder goals, but he just has these moments of sheer brilliance where he can just score a goal out of nothing that just takes an incredible amount of skill. Also, he's like this mischievous little devil.
Yeah.
He's got an evil streak. Shaqiri is definitely a Slytherin.
Yeah.
And we need that kind of player against United. That's just what I'm thinking.
And he is a little bit of a wizard because, like we mentioned a few episodes ago, every time he gets the ball, he's able to turn and be into space.
Yeah.
And we will absolutely need that. And that's either the key to unlocking a parked bus or like getting the keys out of your pocket to then pass to the key, and that will be crucial. And I think the way he has been playing kind of off the wing, but also in the middle in our kind of 4-2-2-2 style thing that we've been doing will create openings, because they're going to have to they're either having to stick with him or pass him on. And that's when breakdowns happen, is when people are passing people on. And please, if Phil Jones could score an own goal like he did today for us, I would absolutely love that. So, yeah, and I think the midfielder that has shown that he can just keep playing and playing and playing, even after running like he was against Napoli, was Gini Wijnaldum, but he may or may not start. I think he out of the 3 that played, he would be the most likely to start, in my opinion, just because he seems to have nailed himself as Klopp's favorite high-energy midfielder, and he's not as injury-prone, knock on wood, as the other 2 midfielders, or as old as one of the other midfielders. So it'll be interesting to see how we approach this, but it's going to take a lot of creativity, a lot of persistence, and a lot of just magic from us to break down that bus, because it's going to be tough, even if they do suck. And we always had to be wary that they do have those players that, even though they don't ever do anything to build an attack, they have Martial and Rashford who can break and score annoying as hell goals.
Well, let me ask you this. I know what we would want to see, but when the team sheet comes out, if the front 6 are unchanged, would you really be that surprised?
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah, same here.
It's going to sound like I'm bitter and a curmudgeon, but I wouldn't necessarily be too pleased either.
Right. Well, it's just it's going to be a very different match.
Absolutely. And that's why we have a squad. And that's why we needed a squad for a very long time, because we need different pieces of the puzzle to make the right image for this match. So, Zach, why don't you go ahead and give us a score prediction and give us a Mourinho pout-o-meter rating. How pouty do you think he's going to be? And also give me the minute that you think United will start time wasting.
Oh, time wasting. I don't know. See, I'm actually going to be optimistic, and I'm going to predict sort of a classic 2-1 Liverpool result. Feels right. Would not be surprised to see a boring draw, because that tends to be a result we get against United a lot. But feels like some specials happening in Liverpool right now. So 2-1 is what I'm going with.
And what about the other 2?
What other 2?
1 to 100 on the powder-meter for
Mourinho. He's gonna break the scale on the powder-meter. Maybe even a little bit of a verbal altercation between Mourinho and Klopp.
I would love that.
Pretty likely, to be
Yeah.
honest. And time wasting. I mean, I feel like maybe around it's going to be 0-0, and around like the 20 or 30th minute, somebody's going to move real slowly to get a ball that's gone out for a throw in, and it's going to start to be apparent like they are totally okay with this ending as a goalless draw because it's United.
Yeah, and it's Mourinho. I'm optimistic as well, although it will be interesting to see. I mean, this is one type of pressure we dealt with midweek. This is a completely different type of pressure than we've been used to all season going into this match. Not only is it a big derby match, it's a we're the top of the table team. We're ahead of City, and they will have played before us and probably taken first back over, but we'll have the game in hand. So it will be a very different type of pressure, and I'm interested to see how the squad copes with it because we look so much more mentally strong that I think we can cope with it. I think it'll be a 1-0 victory. I don't think it'll be very fun to watch. I think it will be very unpleasant. I think our goal, I actually think we'll score off a corner, even though we never do that.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the game to score off a
Maybe
corner.
a big verge header.
Yeah. Like big verge off of Lindelof's head into the goal. Mourinho, yeah, I'm totally on board with you, like breaking the powder meter because he's going to do that to try to rile us up and to try to take the attention away from the actual sport because he knows we have the better team. So he'll do everything in his power to distract us, to distract Klopp, to distract the officials. He probably throws something. Probably insults somebody on his own staff. And I think they start wasting time minute 1. I think I honestly could see them getting kickoff in the first half and just kicking it kind of towards our corner to try to pin us deep with a throw in. And then just walking, changing throwers, arguing about everything, just wasting time trying to get the game over with.
It's funny. This sounds like hyperbole, but this is totally based on like factual things that we've seen happen in this derby, like a lot of times. So it's just laughable. And it's laughable that any United fans would make excuses for Mourinho at this point because you just cannot. I mean, it's just gross. It's not, and this isn't even an attack on like their history as a club or like the fact that they have won so many honors. Like they're obviously a storied sports organization, but they play crap football. Yeah. It's just not good to watch.
Like even the United stand guy, Mark Goldbridge, is like against it to the point where he is now like online friends with a bunch of Liverpool fans. Cause like, yeah, I get it. I wish I had that. And I've had to put up with a bunch of crap for trying to support this team. And it's like, I'll support them, but I can't, there's only so much I can do. So yeah, like it's just, it's terrible. It's legitimately terrible. And the worst part about it is the worse that it is, it seems like the more likely they are to beat us. It's kind of like the Egg Bowl in college football between Mississippi State and Ole Miss, where the team with the worst record usually ends up winning the Egg Bowl.
Yeah, and there's usually a lot of like legitimate bad blood.
Yeah.
And you know, pre-game scuffles and whatnot. So yeah, I like that comparison.
Yeah, and so yeah, I'm thinking a 1-0 victory. It's gonna be not fun, but after when we win, it'll be fun. But watching it will not be fun.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge, but a very different type of challenge than we've faced thus far in this journey of a season.
Yeah, but I'm confident we can do it because we're into the last 16 in the Champions League and we're top of the Premier League table, and it is a great time to be a Liverpool fan. And we'd love to hear from you about how happy you are to be a Liverpool fan at YNTA Podcast on Twitter. ynta.podbean.com, the website. Comments are enabled. Drop us a comment, smash that like button. If you'd be so kind as to leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice, we'd love that. But we really just want to hear from you, your score predictions, your thoughts on certain players, your dank memes about Liverpool. Love to hear all of it. Zach, do you have anything else for this episode?
No, I don't think so. If I had some sort of like cool sign off or catchphrase, it's been so long that I've forgotten it.
It has been a while, but we're glad to see you back. Hopefully you don't pull up injured again sometime soon. And thank you for being with us, listener. And before we go, wanted to extend heartfelt condolences to our buddy Andrew Ainsworth, who could not be here tonight. Unfortunately suffered tragic loss of a close friend, and just want to give our thoughts and prayers to him, his family.
We love you, buddy.
Family. If you have a chance to listen to this, Andrew, we do love you. Zach is right. Thanks for listening. And thanks to all of our Scandinavian followers. Like we said, it's not a joke. We looked at the metrics. So thank you.
Oh, Alex, all those hot takes just broke my collarbone, man. You gotta chill out with those, bro.
I didn't realize you were a center back for Liverpool.
Yeah, apparently I am.
Look for your Zach Osborne jerseys in the club shop now.